I'm Don, welcome to my studio. So I just finished painting this model. It's super cool, so many textures. And then I was scourging the internet and looking at samples so that I know how to attack the model and then paint it. I painted the skin, it's on a separate video here or there, I'm not sure. But I had fun painting it. But I have a question. It's on my title. Why are minis, the miniature painting in general, why is everything so shiny? I understand that there are so many different painting styles and that you need to put more highlights so that the models will pop. So I finished this dwarf model last week from Spellcrow. We talked about contrast in colors, like paint the skin really warm and then the clothes like cool color in green and stuff like that. So if you create contrast in color, you kind of make the model pop. So for today, what I tried to achieve is to create different textures in one miniature. So other than applying, of course we apply the contrast in colors and the contrast in tonal values. We also try to apply textures, different textures in one miniature. This video is also a rest back because my Space Marines, my Grimdark Space Marines were not Grimdark enough. So I wanted to weather this a bit more. Also, I had to change the thumbnail of that Space Marine video because I was called a liar at a Facebook group because I said no airbrush when I kind of primed and varnished it with an airbrush. So anyways, the objective of this model or the painting of this model is to create textures within the model and try not to highlight too much because I understand that highlighting the edges and some elements of the model will make it really pop, but I really can't fully grasp the idea when everything just looks so shiny. So other than creating different textures in one model and different shininess level, we're going to try to produce a grimdark-ish look but with vibrant colors. There are two basic ways to create different textures in a miniature or in a model. You add texture with plastic putty, or basically add real texture to the model, or you paint the model, the different parts of the model in different painting techniques to create more texture. Also, since we kinda smoothened and painted the skin already, which is smooth and shiny, we're kinda painting the armor parts and the other parts of the model really carelessly. I mean, we're not blending. I don't like blending during painting. So we're not blending, we're not being very careful with the painting here because we want different textures in the model, in the elements of the model. So watch until the latter part or second part of the video because I'm going to reveal to you my secret paints for my new secret paints for NMM. So before we paint the wood, we kinda painted the base colors of the different elements of the model, like the wood, the bell, and the skulls. So now we paint the bell. So basically, I paint the bell or any NMM or any model or any element of the model for that matter by sketching. I don't really blend while painting. It's just sketching and laying down the foundation, the paints, the initial highlights and the initial shadows. And then once we built upon those initial shadows, like here in the skull, we're building the highlights. We're not kind of blending. That's a waste of time in my opinion, because you could do blending at the latter stages of the model or the painting of the model. Also, if you've been subscribed to the channel, I hate painting over black because it's kinda a waste of time if you glaze over black, painting transparent paints over black and kind of blending as you go. I don't like that technique. So I mix the base color with black or a darker color and then build layers of lighter colors on top of that. But if I ever do glazing, I always use glaze medium or matte medium. Those work practically the same. The glaze medium is just more fluid. It's more flowy, if that is a word. So it will give you the same, roughly the same consistency of normal paint. So it's so much easier to control. Rather than paint super thin with water, which is kind of tricky to control because these are acrylics. They're not watercolors in the first place, and they tend to go into crevices and such, and you have to have the paintbrush super not loaded so that the paint won't go all over the model. Anyways, if you do glazing, use the glaze medium. It's so much easier than thin down paints. So now we paint wood, which is boring, but I'm kinda showing you that we need to make the wood pop by adding just enough highlights and using the proper color so that the highlights won't look like metal or leather. So it's a matter of choosing the right color so that the wood won't look too shiny, because wood's not shiny, especially old wood. Also, using the right technique in painting so that we create texture. You will notice all throughout the video, I kinda painted all of the elements differently. Like for this wood, it's all vertical or very swift strokes, straight lines and such, so that I create a grainy, not grainy, but I sort of kinda paint grains of the wood so that it looks textured. Once we painted the wood, now we paint the leather pouch. I kinda painted it differently again. I painted the leather pouch through wet blending. So since the leather pouch and the wood have pretty much the same brownish colors, we kinda painted the pouch differently through wet blending. So it's basically just painting over the wet paint and creating nice blends. So now we paint the brass or copper NMM, and it's a matter of sketching the highlights with the darker colors first so that we don't build transparent colors over black. So we start with a red brownish color and then we build upon that and sketch where the highlight should be. And also painting flat NMM is just a matter of creating stripes. It's a matter of alternating light or highlights and then shadow and highlights and then shadows. So it's a matter of blocking or sketching where the highlight should be. Do not blend at this point, you're just wasting your time. And as you can hear, the roosters agree. So as you can see, NMM is just basic layering. If you attack it like that and you create alternate highlights and shadows, you pretty much create good NMM at a very fast pace already. Also, as you could see, you could compare it directly with the wood parts. The wood parts is colored a bit differently, but also I did not add too much highlights on the wood parts because again, as I've said at the start of the video, not everything should be shiny. So different tonal values in terms of highlights in the miniature creates texture in a way, because texture is basically how it looks like when the light hits a certain object. So as we add more and more highlights, now we're using ivory to really make the NMM really bright. It's looking very different to the wood at the center of the shield. Now I share my secret paints and now we blend. The glaze paints I had since I think last year. I tested it a bit last year but did not fully use it for NMM and such because I kinda took learning miniature painting like around 7 months ago only. But in theory, I thought this is going to be great for NMM, and it kinda worked mighty fine here. Basically, these glaze paints feel like paint plus matte medium, not glaze medium. Because glaze medium is more fluid. This one feels like the consistency of these glaze paints are similar to normal paints, which are normal model color paints, which are creamy. The consistency of these paints is actually its strength because we're so familiar with painting with the normal colors, and you don't have to really control it as differently as normal paints. Now we add orange shadows to the brass copper part. So it's basically I added glazing medium with a clear orange. It's going to be really subtle, but after around 3 layers, it kinda worked really nice. So now we paint the iron parts. It's basically just sketching and building up the highlights too similar to the brass NMM. But I'm going really rough with this one because I'm going to add texture later. But I apologize because I did not record the rust texture painting and the verdigris because I thought the video is too long already, and I'll have a separate video on rust effects soon. But painting the iron NMM is very similar to how we painted the brass. It's just building up highlights, and then I'm going to add again rust textures there, so it's going to look Grimdarkish. Now we paint the green armor parts. You will notice here I'm kinda stippling the paints, the lighter green colors over the armor parts. I'm also going to stipple some rust colors, but again, I did not record that video. But it's a matter of creating a very stippled texture for the armor so that it looks very different from the smooth skin and the smooth NMM. So now we refine the model off camera. It's a matter of just adding more highlights, more shadows with inks, a few pigment work, and of course Vallejo tufts. So after a couple of hours of refining the highlights and the shadows of the model and the textures, voila, we're done. I think we were fairly successful in terms of producing a more grim-dark-ish look in comparison to my Space Marines, so I'm very happy with the result. Also, I think I was able to like differentiate different textures in one model, like very rusted armor, shiny NMM, not so shiny cloth, which is emerald, and then smooth and shiny leather pouch, shiny skin, rough armor, and all that stuff. Lastly, I think we kind of proved the point here. You don't really need to edge highlight everything, and everything should look shiny to make the model pop. We were able to not highlight some of the elements here, but we have a good model. That's it, we're done. I hope you liked the video. It's all about textures with this one. I'm going to like create another video. I think I owe you the inks versus washes. I haven't done that yet. And also I'm going to do like a dedicated video for NMM, non-metallic painting, non-metallic metal painting, and a few others. I have so many like ideas to put in this channel, and I hope you subscribe, do like, and share the video so that it kind of helps to grow the channel. And do drop a comment because it also helps the channel like rank a bit more so that YouTube will like endorse the video to more people. So that's it. Until next video guys, saludos.